Yes, hello and welcome once again back to Club Prairie Fire. You know it by now, the home of tequila, Tabasco, and the mighty Duckworth Lewis Stern system. I am the professor sitting here in Australia, and I got to admit, very bloody chuffed after 48 games. In 45 days, we finally have a result, and the World Cup champions are, say it with me, Vaughany, Australia. Well done, Australia. Great work.
Yeah.
They did the impossible. They beat an undefeated India in front of 125,000 Indian fans to claim their sixth one-day title. Pat Cummins won the toss and boldly said to Rohit Sharma, have a bat, mate. And boy, did it work, restricting the home side to just 240. The Aussies chased it down in just 43 overs, a World Cup final won by the boldest of margins. The crowd silenced and their hearts broken. But the good news for all the Indian fans is the BCCI have announced that the T20 series against the Aussies this week is going to be double or nothing. So that's fantastic. They can win it back there. So time to bring in the experts for the last time during this World Cup run. Firstly, to a former England captain who has watched every World Cup final ever and on Test Match Special on Sunday described the Australian victory as the greatest World Cup victory he has ever seen. Please welcome Michael Vaughan. Morning.
Yeah.
How are you?
Yeah, nice. I'm wearing black for a reason. It's the RIP 50 over cricket. The BCCI will be announcing it this week that there'll be no more 50 overs, and actually that win on Sunday won't count. I think they've gone through the history books, and the only one that they're going to count, and it's great for England, is going to be 2019 because that was the best final. So it's great that England are going to be the holders of the 50 over World Cup now. It's all gone, disappeared, and it's nice to be back home. So there you go. Merry Christmas.
To the death of one-day cricket. Fantastic. Hey, let's bring our other expert, a man that managed to have a beer and watch the match with Ollie and I on Sunday, which was wonderful. And we've realised after his many, many years of service for his country, it's led directly to him getting a bunch of free shit, including a feed of pork belly and some free beers at the Harbourview Hotel in Sydney. Please welcome Adam Gilchrist. Welcome, Gilly.
Thanks, mate. A big shout out to the publican there, the Harbourview. That was very generous of him, wasn't he? We were treading on eggshells initially. First of all, they didn't have the cricket on, and then we had to ask if we could turn the volume up and the music down, of which the two other patrons that were there weren't really all that pleased with initially. But a couple of selfies later, and a handshake with the publican, and away was it Dom? Big Dom?
It was Dom.
Anyway, we had a good evening, didn't we? Well, first half of the match, and then I let you two gentlemen get back to your humble abodes in Sydney, and I went hunting for my son in Sydney. One of my boys, my eldest boy, Harry, was over there, and I found him in another pub, funnily enough, in Leichhardt. And now that was a different story watching there. That was quite unique. But we got right through to the end. It was brilliant. And, well done, Australia. Well done, Australia. But Prof, we were just saying, as one season finishes, another one begins. We got to get through this pretty quick. You're off to indoor soccer, did you say?
Oh, I got 6-a-side soccer tonight. Our team, Purple Monkey Dishwasher, we're taking on the Jerrys or something, the Geriatrics. I don't know. We had a win last week. I'm the goalkeeper. I had a clean sheet last week. We're on at 8:40.
All right.
If we can just get through this, because Lord knows the team would be terrible without me.
So just back to your story there, Gil. The selfies, Ollie. Were you having to do selfies to get the free booze? Were you?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And we actually did have a little play and look on Raya as well, Vaughany, which you would have enjoyed. And again, it's also broken in the Harbourview Hotel and within 5 kilometres between the ages of 18 and 60, which is a blow. But hopefully, as Christmas comes around, there'll be some gift giving. Yeah,
it sounds like if you want the over 60s, you want to go to Pro's football match tonight. See the vibes of
that. It was a masterclass from Ollie on the coaching stint on Raya. Showed us all about it, the way it all operates and everything. And Prof and I both looked at each other and sort of went, we missed this by probably about 10 years, I reckon. So it's just talk about shelling peas.
Oh, absolutely. Well, they say that between the 11th and the 40th over, in ODIs is boring. Wasn't for us. We filled our time very easily indeed. Hey, Vaughany, I think we should probably get to you first. You were there. You were at the game. I guess, and I always love to hear about the atmosphere because I know you're a man that gets out amongst the crowd. What was it like to begin with when Rowett came out? And then tell us about that last 30 overs.
Well, I'll say I thought it was looking bad for India from the moment that the planes missed timing by about a minute. I didn't think that was a good sign for India. I know it's not easy. It's not easy to get the planes coming over exactly at the end of the anthem, but they missed it by a minute. So I didn't think that was a great sign for India.
So what happened? Did they fly over when the first ball was being bowled or something?
Well, I think it flew over again when Travis was launching them out the ground. I mean, I have to say, we kind of, and rightfully so, I think the BCCI get a bit of stick, particularly when they start changing pitches and things like that. I don't agree with that. But what India bring to cricket, I don't think we ever really promote enough. I was yesterday on social just asking, is there another country that loves the sport more than India love cricket? I've never been to Brazil, and they say Brazil football, incredible. But the atmosphere in that ground, I've never known a ground be so loud and yet so quiet a minute later. I've never seen it before in my life. I mean, they're upset. When they got Warner wicket, I've been to many football games, Champions League final, FA Cup final. My team, Sheffield Wednesday, scored a 123rd minute winner in the playoff this year at Wembley. We went absolutely nuts. I thought that wicket of Warner was the greatest ever celebration I've ever seen. I've never seen 130,000 like it. Just for one wicket. And then it was funny in the second part of the game when that partnership suddenly started to develop and you could see the ball skidded on a little bit more, and there was a couple of moments. And this is where I want to mention England once again. Australia, will they be sending Richard Kettleborough anything for what he did? I mean, the umpire, those two out in the middle, Illingworth and Kettleborough had outstanding games. And to give Marnus not out, and it's just a bit of an umpire's call, Richard Kettleborough goes to get his medal on the podium. They booed him. Now, they booed him for getting his medal. He had an outstanding game. So I think Australia owe Richard Kettleborough and Richard Illingworth a rather large box of nice vino. And it's, again, the English guys that were helping Australia. Again, Josh Inglis, how many catches did he take? 10? 10 catches?
Yeah.
So it was a good win for the Aussies, but it was helped by England.
It was a big day for England, wasn't it? There's no doubt about it.
Congrats, Bonnie, actually. Congrats, yeah.
Thank you. Do we get anything for that, Ollie?
I will look into it. The English thing we did see, I think it was 5 in a row, and we said, Vaughany will mention this first.
We did.
In English.
Yeah, the good game. I thought he was man of the match, to be fair, but.
Well, I was going to save it, for the Playbook Player of the Round, the final, and I think the umpires are also in with a shout was one of my nominations, so we'll get to that later. So I think it's a great shout.
I tell you that point about the silence. I mean that was palpable, like through the TV. Even it must have almost been eerie at the ground when you have that many people there, and just have such. To hear the whack of the ball on the bat and see it sailing into the sky over the fence, and then just nothing at all.
Well, we have our effects up on the radio because we want to get all the noise and all the vibe, and we honestly, throughout the second innings in particular, we had to check the effects were still on.
Yeah,
going, are these working?
Yeah.
It was that quiet. It was remarkable. I mean, they obviously all arrived in the blue. We saw on the way into the ground, honestly, I only saw 4 Australian fans. I know there was a few more when the cameras came to pan out, probably got to about 15, but they all arrived in their blue. Not one of them ever thought they were going to see what they saw. Not one of them. And I think the real disappointment for India was that it wasn't a game. Apart from Rowett's first few hours when he came out the traps, they got excited and we all thought 320, 330, and that'll be enough, that'll be game over. As soon as Travis decided to as soon as Travis decided to turn himself into a flying salmon to take that catch, it was almost inevitable what was going to happen.
You need a Prairie Fire, Vaughany, just to clear that.
It sounds like you're getting emotional, Vaughany.
Oh, he's all set. He's all set to go. That's beautiful for those that can't see what he's holding up to the screen. He's got his little beverage all set and ready. He's got a bit of Tabasco there. But, mate, what did you at the ground? What was the conversation? Often in the press boxes, immediately after a decision at the toss, that is where it is most openly and honestly scrutinised. And I don't mean on air, Vaughany, is it? People on with a microphone in front of them will be very polite and understanding and may look at it a few different ways, but it's out the back of the press box where all the various blokes that aren't on air start ripping into a decision if they think it's the wrong one. I was stunned, absolutely stunned. I was waiting. I was sitting there with a drink, waiting for the prof and Ollie to turn up, and I rang them. They just got off the ferry, and I knew that they were 5 minutes away from the pub I was at. What I didn't counter that there was actually 3 pubs in between there. So they ended up being there about 10 minutes later than they should have been because they were basically having a pub crawl on the way there. But have a look, if you can, have a look at we'd all like to say that we had it on the mark. We knew it was a wise decision. It was a clear decision that had to happen given the wicket and the dew factor and all that. Not many people said it. Matthew Hayden, my big mate Dossie, on his social media, the day after the event, posts this big long piece to camera on his phone where he talks about, Ashwin will play and, okay, he got that wrong, but he said, wicket, bit slow, bit dry. And then his last point, he says, Australia may bowl first, and if they can keep it somewhere around 240, they might be a chance. So the day after the game, he posts it out there and says, it was too rushed before the game. I didn't have time to send this. Big Dossie, in retrospect, got it spot on.
Yeah. I like the fact you're calling him Big Dossie because he is huge. I was with him. He's bigger than Big Dossie, let me tell you. He's huge, Dossie.
I saw you nabbed his Akubra. The pink chap.
I tell you what, there was some strange attire going on. I don't know if you saw Sunil Gavaskar. He had cowboy boots on. In actual fact, I've got the picture on my phone that I'll put to the screen now, just to show you what Sunil Gavaskar was wearing pre-match.
Oh, it's me.
The cowboy boot, but with the pant of the suit tucked in.
Look at those bad boys. He took them off and got the loafers out, but I said, where are those boots? He went, oh, well, they're from Dallas, Major League Cricket. And I got them over there, so I decided, I said, you looked a right prick on camera.
One thing, talking of experts knowing their stuff, Hayden said, Mark Bosnich, we haven't touched on this. Yes. The Australian goalie who walks into the pub as we're having dinner. Yeah. He just rattles off every stat from that stadium. Teams batting first. Was it a good idea?
But also, he remembered every innings Gilly had ever had in a World Cup and was reminding you of things that you were like, oh, did I? Oh, did I?
He was trying to come to terms with why I wasn't in a TV studio, at least either being the pundit or the host or something. And he couldn't believe it. He was sat in a pub with you blokes just chomping a few free beers and meal.
Yeah, I must admit, when you sent through that picture, I've got to be honest with you, I was trying to work out who it was. I thought it was Gus Warland. Gussie.
Oh, don't tell Boz of that.
Oh,
bloody hell.
I thought it was Gus. And then it took me a while, and I thought, oh, that's Bosley. That's Man United. By the way, just on, I know you're going to bring up probably the odd tweet or two that I might not have got quite right. I'm pretty.
Sorry, look what I've got there, just loaded up on.
I'm pretty sure that, can I just say, just after the toss, there was a tweet by a Michael Vaughan that says, the best way for the Aussies to win, I reckon, restrict India, then hope dew plays a factor. By the way, the atmosphere here is ridiculous.
It was after the toss, was it?
Just after the toss, because everyone in our boat, I can't believe this is ridiculous. You're allowing India the best chance to bat on the pitch, and they'll get.
Vaughany, I mean, so you said the best way for Australia to win is restrict India and chase it down. Well, they had no other fucking option after they decided to bowl first. They couldn't sort of see how it goes and then go, oh, can we have a stick now?
Well, exactly. But do you know what happened? Do you know what
You're not Nostradamus from there.
Yeah, but when you win the toss, you do get an option. You do get an option to bat as well. And they decide to bowl. So there you go. That's why.
So did you in the time that so they said you've won the toss, and in that time,
And you've tweeted that out.
and then they said we'll have a mate. That's very good, Vaughany.
That is good.
And
That's
it's very hard to win if you don't restrict them and then get more runs than them in one day as well.
Yeah,
That's very tricky. You
can win if you get the same and have a super over.
Exactly.
Yeah, we've learnt that. Count back.
Yes, we have.
Well, I thought that if you go back through that venue, it was the right decision because New Zealand chased down easy. India chased down against Pakistan easy.
Yep.
South Africa got over the line against Afghanistan, but that was kind of the talk of the pitch. Similar pitch to Afghanistan, it'll still spin. And I'll be totally honest, if England were playing anywhere like they can, they would have chased down that total against Australia at that venue as well. So it was a chasing venue.
And it was a very gutsy call, though, wasn't it? It was a ballsy call, given Australia haven't chased typically well, or they had a history against spin, particularly chasing. So, well done, Paddy, and the team brains.
I didn't see Rohit's comments afterwards, but do you think they would have bowled as well had they won it?
Yeah, I think he said
it.
There you go.
Wow. They hit more. I think Travis hit more boundaries in sixes than India put together.
You did.
Yeah. So
they hit 4 boundaries from 10 to 50.
Yeah, and didn't take Cummins for one. He was brilliant. Jeez, he was good.
Now, I wanted to ask you, Vaughany, obviously working for the BBC, I heard a bit of the call of the winning balls by, sorry, did you say it was Simon Mann?
Simon Mann, yeah.
Was there a genuine lack of enthusiasm in his call? Was it? It was a bit like, yeah, Maxwell hit the winning runs, and Australia wins. It was.
What more do you want him to say?
I want some excitement. I mean, pretty unbelievable. 6th times they've won this. No, nothing. Why didn't Jeff Lemon get a chance in there, the Aussie?
He had no voice left.
I honestly don't know. I was out the back. I wasn't in the box for the call. I was just out the back, just hovering around. I was more studying the Indian supporters. That was kind of because that stadium that emptied quickly. That was it was quite a revealing stadium to clear so fast.
Did they hang around to the last ball?
Is what? Sorry.
Did they wait to the last ball?
Yeah,
to leave.
It was. I would say it was probably 3/4 full. The last ball, but it soon cleared, and there was hardly anybody. I mean, the presentation took forever. Took forever.
Yeah.
Patty Cummins being left on the stage with a trophy, that was gold.
Yeah,
what happened there? I reckon Prime Minister Modi, he was scarred. He was obviously somewhere back in about 2006 and saw one friend of the show, Damien Martin, give Sharad Power a good shove off the stage. So he thought, there, you can have it, and bolted, got out of there.
Well,
Pat Cummins didn't need a cow with his name painted on the side of it, so he wasn't putting his hands anywhere.
Yeah, the PM was ahead of his time. I think he's listened to the pod and he saw Damo's story, and he thought, as the PM, he thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm not even allowed the fucking players on here while I'm on here to throw me off. But I'm going to get off and not let them on. So he was ahead of his time.
You go, Gilly.
Just in all seriousness, and Vaughany, you said it in your tweet, and I think I agree, and particularly even on reflection, I felt it at the same time. I wrote in a tweet, I thought it was one of Australian sport's greatest achievements, just for all the reasons that you've touched on, and we've sort of monitored throughout. It's in India. The 1.5 billion, the pitch conditions, everything, the momentum that India had. They are probably their best white ball team ever, and they've had some pretty amazing players in their generations. And I think also when you go back, I reckon 99, we were in a very similar position where we lost 2 of our first 3 games. We couldn't lose another game, but we found a way to get the momentum. But back in 2003 and 2007, I don't think the minnow nations were as strong and as threatening then as what these teams are now. So to play every opponent, you wouldn't necessarily say that Australia were fearful of losing to Holland, but Holland fired a few shots. Afghanistan could have been in the semis and should have been, probably, if they held a catch or two against Glenn Maxwell and so on. So overall, I think it is the greatest World Cup achievement. I guess I can't speak with too much authority about 87. That was an underdog story, came good. But, yeah, I think taking everything into account and certainly taking into account what they've achieved in the 12-month period is quite phenomenal. So Pat and his team, and I think the Australian public will truly warm to this group of players now in a way that for some reason there's been a handbrake on that for a whole host of contributing factors, but I reckon, the floodgates will open now.
I'm with you. I mean, I have felt for them a little bit because they always seem to be in the shadows of your great team. I kind of I've watched this team and I understand why and understand what happened in South Africa. So it's always going to take a little bit of time for that love to come back. But, quietly what this group of Australian cricket have done over the last few years. I mean, you go back to 15, they won a World Cup in their own backyard. I guess they would have expected to do that. Since then, they've retained 2 Ashes in England. Huge achievement. Massive to do that against the mighty England, obviously here in the UK. But then they win a T20 World Cup from nowhere in the UAE. No one gave them any chance under JL to win that trophy. They got that job done. Obviously, in the last few years, they've hammered England in Australian Ashes series. That's been done previously. But to win this World Cup, that was the best. I mean, I can't talk about the 70s and 80s because I wasn't around watching cricket. But I think ODI cricket, we all will agree, it's all changed from the 90s with obviously white ball, coloured clothing. It's just become a different kind of game of cricket. It's almost like a different sport almost in the last 30 years, particularly the last 20 years. It's become a different sport. And for this Australian side to do what they've done in India, I said it at the time and I'll stick with it. It's the greatest World Cup victory for me. And I will add, I don't study every sport, but I would say it has to be up there with one of the greatest World Cup wins across football and across rugby. To win in India in any cricket match is a massive achievement for everything that goes against you. And let's be honest, that final pitch was a pitch prepared for the home nation. That wasn't a neutral pitch prepared. And I actually think India, from the moment that I saw them in the semi-final, and they'll be going, "Oh, shut up, Vaughan. Stop, you're a broken record talking about the pitches." The minute that they started doing that was the minute I went, "Wait a minute, they're worried." And why are they worried? They're the best team in the tournament.
Yeah.
If they'd have just played on the flattest wickets, I look at Australia, I think they're, I know they chased down that score against Afghanistan, but with their 4 and 5, the way that they played, Smith and Labuschagne, they set up to chase down around a 240 to 280 because they can just play orthodox. And they firecrack at the start and they've got a flamboyant, brilliant finisher in Maxwell. If India had played on a flat one, a road, they'd have got 330, 350 just batting normally. And I think they win the game easily. By playing on a pitch that's a bit spicy and a little bit stoppy, 240, 280, that's exactly where Australia wanted India. So it actually brought the Aussies into the equation, which, did it lose into the World Cup? I would suggest that whenever you start playing games with the game of cricket, a little god up there that looks down on the game and goes, it might backfire on you. And I'm pretty sure it did.
Yeah, I think, Gilly, you mentioned that in the pub, didn't you? The first wicket, or the second wicket, Rohit Sharma playing a bit early, leading edge. Gill was on it early. Kohli just looked at the pitch when he played on. Having taken all the pace off it led to a lot of the wickets. And just part of the due diligence, you talk about how good it's got over the last 20 years, cricket and competitive. A couple of scorecards I picked up here. Namibia, 2003, bowled out for 45 as Australia post over 300, which was beaten a couple of days later as Canada got skittled for 36. And Sri Lanka chased it down. And you don't see many of those happening anymore.
Ollie, you do need to then have a look at the English scorecards from this particular World Cup.
True.
Can you look at England versus India and England versus South Africa?
From the records.
But I think we also saw the celebrations that the Aussies were getting into. Lots of photographs going around. I think Travis Head, the ambassador of El Shito, was leading the charge. I'm assuming they're still celebrating now. Ollie, have you got a little something you want to show there?
I don't know if you saw it. He's doing the El Shito celebration of the double gun celebration, like in Mexico. It is, and that's what was on Adam Zampa's
Is he in
Instagram.
Mexico? Has he made it down to Mexico? Do we know?
We're not. We were hoping he was on the podcast, so hopefully he can come back.
Now, the other person that's been celebrating well. Sorry, yes, Vaughany, you go.
I just bring some. I mean, if you're ever going to win a World Cup in a place that you wouldn't want to win a World Cup, it's in Ahmedabad. It's a dry state. So,
yeah, I noticed that when they first brought the trophy in, that there was no champagne, no beer.
But just having looked at that picture of Travis, I would suggest that they might have found some.
Yeah.
I reckon it might not have been dry for too long by the look of that picture of Travis.
I suspect they might have found something somewhere for sure.
Well, I do know that actually, when you arrive at Ahmedabad, if you declare yourself as having an issue and you like a drink, so i.e. You're an alcoholic, you can sign a form. There are a few forms to go through, but you can sign a form and you can get an allowance of juice. I think it's per week. So I don't want to name names, but there was a certain person from Australia that worked with us, and I think he'd signed this form. And I was leaving, and I was getting a taxi at 1 a.m. and it got to 12. I got an hour, and the text and the WhatsApp group came through. I've got a few in the fridge if anyone wants one. Now, went up to his room, and there they were, just a nice few fruity drinks, few beers, and he'd signed the form. He'd just got a fridge full. So there you go. Maybe what happened after the final, all the Aussies suddenly signed these forms that they were alcoholics and they were allowed a bit of juice.
Very good. The other bloke that was celebrating, I think, long into the night, as we saw, was Mitch Marsh. There's been a bit of chat today. I don't know if you've seen the picture of him with his feet up on the trophy. I wanted to ask you boys, anything like that go on when you guys had wins? Any shenanigans with trophies that were, I don't know, not well received?
Well, that's an interesting point, that one, Prof, because I saw a headline on an article that said Indian fans blow up at disrespectful Aussie celebrations. So I opened it up and had a look, thinking that it was going to be, why are they getting drinks in our state and not respecting our law? But nothing to do with the drinks. It was the picture of Mitch Marsh with his feet up on the trophy, like saying disrespectful to it. Now,
just relax it.
If they knew what Big Doss did to it in 2003, Jesus, that was sent to the panel beaters to get repaired. Because Haydos and Bick used to do a wonderful hunt and kill of a trophy in the change rooms, and back at the hotel later on, they do this little skit, and it was absolutely brilliant, where they try and hunt down and locate the trophy and take it out, a bit like in the game parks of South Africa. So no, it survived. I think from a celebration mode, the biggest, it didn't really involve the trophy, but there was some damage done. 2007, a bit like when you got kicked out of the tournament, Vaughany, in 2007. When we won it, we actually, unfortunately, had to stay in Barbados for another 3 days before we could get out. So that was a pretty shit time. But obviously, we sort of celebrated all night, into the next morning without really sleeping. I went to a press conference with McGrath and Ponting down on the beach, and the only reason I knew I was meant to be there is because I was with Roy out on the balcony of his room looking down at the beach, and the press conference had started, and they all turned around and screamed at me to get down there. I was meant to be there. So I went down, and they said, how many World Cups is that in a row now, Gilly? And having not slept and certainly having signed one of those said forms to document that I was a bit dependent, I just put my hand up in front of the girl, and I went, yeah, 3. And I held my hand up with 4 fingers up, and Punter leans over and just goes, and puts one of my fingers down without me even knowing about it. But that celebration culminated on a boat provided by James Packer, who was out there, Australian, probably at the time Australia's wealthiest man. And to cut a long story short, all I heard damage-wise, every 5 minutes, we up there celebrating, and all the toys came out on the boat, the jet skis, the tender boat, and Brad Hogg was out skiing, and you'd go, and he'd go past yelling out. Then the boys got the jet skis out, and all I remember is 3 players going at pace, disappearing behind another boat moored up out in the deep, and the most almighty bang I've ever heard. About 10 minutes later, the boys come up dripping wet, and then the big claw, the big crane comes out in the winch and is just picking up 3 brutally damaged jet skis and putting them back on his boat, and they were out of commission.
He would have been happy. Old Jimbo. Jesus. Vaughany?
Jimbo.
Yeah, Jimbo Packer.
Yeah. I mean, I always remember 05 when we won the Ashes. It's always that moment on the stage. And it's always I mean, it wouldn't happen now, but I look back at some of the pictures. I don't think I've got any in here, but I always remember the Ashes is tiny and it's only a little thing. I remember getting up to picking it up, and actually on the right of the Ashes, you see, was a bottle of Bud. I nearly picked the bottle of Bud and raised it, but there was a bottle of Bud there, I thought. Anyway, I got the Ashes, and everyone said, "Oh, the Ashes is such a historic trophy, and it goes back many generations. And you pick it up, you've got to be so careful with it." I remember picking it up and raising it, and then looking and seeing underneath the $29.99 Lord's shop.
It was a replica.
It's the replica. The real Ashes is behind a glass box in the museum at Lord's. You're not allowed to even look at it, I don't think. But, I mean, celebrations were fun. They were great. Went on for hours and days. But we did end up, I remember, at number 10 the next day. And there was a few things that went on in number 10. It was great of Tony Blair to host us, having had no sleep and about 17 hours on the gas. Anyway, we strolled in, had a few hours there. There was a bit of shenanigans. Someone pissed in his flower bed, not too sure who. Well, I think he was from Wales, and it wasn't the keeper. But anyway, we got kicked out a bit early. I think we got told to leave early. And now, me as captain, I got everyone in this corridor and said, "Come on, do your ties up. Just get smart." I mean, at the minute, you probably think it's the last thing you want is this picture on the steps of number 10, but look half smart. We go and stand on the steps, and I'm stood between the quick bowler from Wales and the swing bowler from Yorkshire. I'm not naming names, but he bowled a bit of swing from Yorkshire. And there was loads of camera people opposite, hundreds, like camera snappers, waiting for the shot. Tony Blair, suddenly he's late. He arrives about 5 minutes late, and he walks right in between me and the Yorkshire swing bowler. I nearly mentioned his name, but the Yorkshire swing bowler. And he stands there and he said, "Oh, I wonder what all the cameras are here for." And Hoggard takes a pause and looks at him and he said, "To take our picture, you knob." I mean, yeah.
Well done for not mentioning his name, the Yorkshire.
Yeah, nailed it, Vaughany.
I'll just, as they're throwing out their favourite celebrations, I want to mix the two. Where I've got one, and I don't think the whole story, but it's the fact it's English person involving water, and it is, of course, Freddie Flintoff, and it's my favourite because this was after they lost a game to the West Indies in 2007 with a pedalo. So it's all fine when you celebrate winning a World Cup, Ashes, but it's a group game and still manage to go on a spree like that is phenomenal, and that is my
I think it
highlight.
was I think we lost against New Zealand, all.
Oh, well, I've been lied to. It was in the West Indies, right? Fair. I've been lied to.
I think it was New Zealand, yeah.
But, I mean, although they don't often win many games, but often minnow nations, celebrate getting at least half the score of the opposition. Yeah. So that was probably reason to get out there and get on the piss.
That's fantastic. That's wonderful. Don't you think, though, in this whole Mitch Marsh thing, if there is someone from a country that is allowed to treat the trophy like a piece of furniture, it's Australians? Because it's 6 times. It lives here. It basically 6 out of how many? 6 out of 11?
13.
No, 12.
6 out of 13.
13. I mean, come on. He's allowed to he took his shoes off.
Yep, yes.
That was respectful. I think it's fine. I don't think we need to worry about that. Hey, Vaughany, you've just returned back. You're in Cheshire again?
Yeah, I'm back up north. Yeah, it's lovely.
Now, I wanted to ask you obviously spent all that time in India. Before I get into this, are we wrap the game? I just wanted to ask Vaughany for his most memorable moment from the tournament, and time in India.
Well, we might need to do
the whole trip. Well, Well, Maxwell's innings for me. I'll have to give you a serious answer. Maxwell's innings was ridiculous. We'll never, well, probably will, but I don't think we will ever see an innings like that again. From 90 for 7, Pat's 12 not out. Yeah, to be in Mumbai for that. I mean, India's a special place, and I have to say also having a shave or two on the streets. I enjoy going to see my mate Din and Joel. Yeah, down on the streets.
I was going to jump in and say, surely, I'm surprised you got any skin left on your face. You went to that fella, what, 3 times a day?
Yeah, I went a few times. Yeah, I used to go and see him. Good old friend of mine now. Trim, shave. It is. I have to say, there's nervous moments in your life. That's quite a nervy moment when he starts to get the razor blade out.
Get the cutthroat razor out.
Yeah, and he's spraying you away. He gets the water from his the local apartment. Window opens, this water arrives, sprays you away, and then he suddenly goes when he gets the blade out. He does put a new one on every time, and it's that first scrape, but it's when he goes down the neck. It's it's nervous, but he does a good job. Does a good job. You can go down there, Ormston Street. Anyone that's in Mumbai. Just nick yourself down there, see Din Jal. He'll look after you, give you a trim, and also a head massage. You wax your head. I mean, it's like I'm like, whoa, steady on. It's a bit early for that, but yeah, it gives you a head whack, gives you a shave, gives you a trim. And again, it's the end of the shave. You know, if you're in like a nice cuisine, you're all right with it. But he suddenly brings out this pot of moisturizer. I have to say, it's been there a while. You can't say no, so he has to put the moisturizer on. Then he pulls out a bit of aftershave. Gives you a bit of a spray. So, it's the full treatment on the streets of Mumbai.
Beautiful, very good. Hey,
sorry, mate.
Vaughany, have you listened back to the BBC call of the Maxwell 200?
No, and I just go, woo.
So, guys, if you get a chance, Vaughany's not on the microphone, but you can just hear him in the background the whole time going, "Oh no!" The whole call. It's very entertaining.
Very good. It was. I mean, we wrote the 50 over game off in our first pod for the World Cup.
It's gone now.
It was a remarkable tournament in the end, wasn't it? I think. Well, Pat Cummins has said it's made him fall back in love with 50 over cricket, and I don't think he's the only one in the world that had maybe fallen out of love with it. But it's maybe the bilateral series need to be looked at, and but as far as World Cup, a pinnacle, he said himself he thinks it's the pinnacle of international cricket, and clearly it's that and the T20 are the only ones that have all nations possibly being involved. But some remarkable moments, and well done India. Well done India for its vibrancy and colour and the volumes of everything and the enthusiasm. And listening to a few of the tributes to the team a day after. I mean, your mate Dinesh Karthik, Vaughany, who you did a bit of work with out there. Whew, someone had died. Someone had died. It was like mourning at a funeral. It really was. It was, a beautiful tribute. And I had to stop and finish and think, it was sport, wasn't it? It was someone hasn't passed away, have they? But that just highlights and underlines the enthusiasm and passion for the game there. So I think the game comes out of it with more to look forward to in that format.
Just on that, and you mentioned it is sport, Gilly, and I'm a big believer that when a team does something special, you should be allowed that time to celebrate.
Oh, yeah.
Aussie's got his feet on the trophy. I have no problem with that. And the lads should be celebrating. David Warner's just pulled out the T20 series that starts on Thursday. I can't fathom how these guys that have just achieved one of the greatest things in sporting history are not arriving back in Australia all together, landing, I don't know if they'll land in Melbourne or Sydney, getting a ticker tape parade. I look at the Rugby World Cup and South Africa, going back to South Africa, I saw their trophy being paraded all over South Africa. It was great. And not just great for the team and the country, but great for the sport to see those kind of celebrations. Now, all the Aussies should be on the plane. They should be arriving as a team, and they should be getting a huge reception back in Australia. How a few of them are staying to play in that that money-making T20 series that starts on Thursday, and that's all it's about. That is purely about quid, cash.
Yep.
Every single player. I see that India have only got a couple of players that are playing. Sorry, Kumar, unfortunately, he's going to roll himself out on Thursday. The Ishan Kishan, Australia have got a few, but how these boards around the world aren't going. And Australia's board should have stepped in and go, I'm sorry, all the lads that played in that World Cup final have won. They're coming back home because we need them to celebrate and be a part of the public celebrating with them. Because it's a historic moment in sport. And I think there's times like this that you go, oh, it's just about money. It's just purely about it, rolling them out again, flogging a dead horse. I can't accept it. So they all should be back in Oz. They should be around Sydney, around Melbourne, wherever they need to be paraded with that trophy, getting all the kids on the street to see them, because it's great for the sport when you see those kind of celebrations, and you're allowed a few drinks with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Celebrate or however you want to celebrate. I mean, the Harbour View in Sydney would very much welcome them there. That's a very nice spot to continue their celebrations, enjoy some pork belly. I remember, and you got to strike while it's hot too. We in '99 we flew out of London direct to Melbourne the next morning, the next day, and I'll never forget that flight. Mainly because when I first got on there, Emirates were just entering sport as sponsors, and they sponsored us for that World Cup. I remember in seat 1A on that flight was a sort of Arab sheikh, very important looking man. Next to him in 1B, a falcon, as in a bird. Sitting there, had his little beak cap on, had his sort of wings clipped in with a little harness thing. He was in 1B. I kid you not. But why I mentioned that flight?
Did he come around Did he go around?
No, he wasn't allowed to stretch his wings mid-flight. And
wouldn't that be weird for a bird to be on a plane?
Sorry,
wouldn't that be a weird feeling for a bird to be on a plane?
He could have just flown next to it.
Yeah.
Well, he's probably lucky he had his little sort of muzzle over his beak, because he might have been a bit off-putting with the amount of cigars that we smoked flying home all the way. That was back in the day when you could still spark up on the plane. And that's the only time I do ever venture down that way, is to celebrate something. But we landed in Melbourne. We dusted ourselves off for a few hours, and next we had a ticker tape parade. It was unbelievable. In Sydney, we had a ticker tape parade. And Vaughany, you're spot on. Talk about way to engage with your audience and those most important people that we always hear about as the fans. I reckon it's disrespectful to the World Cup trophy and the World Cup tournament and the prestige of it that 4 days later they're slugging it out again.
Shocking.
Yeah. Will anybody watch it? Probably not. Probably not down here. I don't know. Will they get full crowds in India for it?
Although I must say the T20 format is the most important, or the one and the hardest one to win of them all, because obviously England have
of course,
a minute. It's the big one. So I understand why they all want to play.
Yeah,
they'll be watched. They'll be watched. It's in India. Remember that, and they love it.
Absolutely. Now, guys, I do hate to speed this along, but I need to start stretching about an hour and a half before I play. Let's get into our awards. Of course, there's been the Player of the Week, the Player of the Pool season, the Player of the Semi-Finals. Now we're going to do the Player of the Finals, of course, brought to you by PlayBook. And actually, guys, this is a big announcement on this podcast. They actually have a special offer for our very final Cricket World Cup episode. If you use the code CLUBPOD20, so that's CLUBPOD20, you get $20 off for your next PlayBook session. Now, you can book until the end of November 2023 to enjoy the $20 off with any PlayBook coach for online mentoring or in-person coaching. So get on there now, type that code in, ClubPod20, save yourself a lobster, little $20 note.
That was a good read, that, Pro. I thought you were going to say any Playboy coach.
No, let's not get this mixed up. PlayBook.
Next
PlayBook. That's a good shout, though. We could look at them for a sponsor next season. Ollie, good shout. Vaughany, very good. Now, I think we can all agree. Well, let the experts go first. Come on, Gilly. Who is the player of the final?
The player of the final. Oh, dear. Let me think through if there's anyone rivaling the obvious. Very honourable mention to Pat Cummins. He sacked right up at the toss. He made a decision to bowl Maxi when Rowett was pinning the ears back. Well, I thought even from the start, Vaughany, and this is a la you at Edgbaston of 2005, that deep point fielder when Rowett smoked one out there first over and you thought, oh, there's the opening boundary, and it gets cut off. So the field positioning was outstanding. He had a terrific tournament, terrific match as leader, bowled like a lion. He's as close to what I can see as being man of the match, but it's obviously not going to be. It's going to be El Shito's finest ambassador.
Yeah, it's a good show. I mean, we've got to promote El Shito, so I think T-Head's obviously a key candidate. But I think you're right, Pat Cummins. For me, his captaincy was remarkable. That mid play where he just went, he seemed to change the ball in every over to not let KL Rahul and Virat Kohli settle. He then comes on and gets Virat Kohli out. So Pat gets a big mention, but my player, it's got to be Richard Kettleborough, the umpire. It has to be. I mean, he had a great game. Just think, if his finger had gone up, the tape parade we're talking about might not happen. So,
did he give Smith out?
Oh, that's
Illingworth.
Smith didn't want to play. He couldn't be bothered to have a bat. He walked off.
Yeah. Weird
Very
one,
unlike Stephen Smith to not review it. I mean, it looked a bit spicy on the screen straight away. I thought, it's a definite review. And for him to walk off, I was amazed.
Yeah. Yep.
And the one other thing live, watching that with Gilly, Travis Head, you said at the time that catch over his shoulder for Rohit Sharma, you said that could be a massive moment in the game later on. And it turns out, absolutely was.
Well, but also you said that's the moment they'll look back at, but I got a feeling they might look back at his 137.
I don't think the catch is what he's going to be remembered for.
Gilly, when he was smoking, were you getting nervous about your score being surpassed, or?
Mate, I celebrated a lot of things through the course of that game, none the least when he picked out the fielder out in the deep. That was a great moment of that innings. You've done enough. You've steered us home now. You piss off. And because in the pub that I was at with my son, proud moment, they just kept flashing up high scores in World Cup finals, didn't they? And there I was, and the barman would bring over another drink for us, you beauty. And he started getting closer and closer, started chanting, get out, get out. So, Packham, good knock, well done. You'll go down in history as number 2. I couldn't, look, I went to bed with Australia 7 for 90 and then wake up in the morning and find out Maxi's played the best white ball innings in history, certainly the best by in Australia. So I didn't want to lose something that I've got on record.
Yeah.
Very gracious of you, Gilly.
Yeah.
Very gracious. Go Australia. Dwayne, do we want to do the Dwayne Leverock medal for the minnow? This might be for the whole tournament.
England.
Mm-hmm. They did well to get up to 7th to get into that Champions Trophy. No one thought it possible for the little guys, and good on them.
Yeah.
Keep on trucking.
And they, an Englishman took their whole country where they were sitting at rock bottom in the absolute toilet of excuse making and this whole moral victory stuff. And you couldn't go any lower. But then NASA did. He took them even further down with the excuse making of why they.
Yeah, but what I like about India, they've taken a little bit of a leaf out of England. I noticed in the Hinduism Times, they had a big picture of the Indian side, and the headline were "Champions Nonetheless." So India are claiming the championship even though they've lost.
Everybody's doing it.
It's a little bit like politics now, cricket. If you lose or you do something that you're not quite that happy with at the time, if you just claim it the next day, it's yours.
Sure.
And they did win the most games.
Yes, they did. There you go.
Can I just say though?
No, did they? Australia won. Oh no, Australia won.
We won 9,
10.
and they won.
They won 10. India won the World Cup.
They won 10. We won 9. It was, of
course.
But can I just say it was an Australian that helped England get to number 7. So well done, Matthew Mott So
Yeah.
that's definitely an Australian.
Yep.
But, will hopefully keep his job. Let's do Bazbald overall for the whole tournament. I mean, come on. Nothing sweeter than the people that invented it. Getting it shoved in their face.
I'm saying Baz delayed it. It's named after him.
Yeah.
He went for 115. It's a new record. I mean, it's perfect. It's Baz for me.
Yeah, and I do say, I mean, I'll give credit. This Australian side of Bazbald, you know, they are a team that will be remembered forever because they won the first ever 50 over World Cup that will count because it's post Bazball being created. So all the rest, Gilly, all your 3 and your bloody rings that you keep wearing, they're nullified. They're irrelevant because it was pre-Bazball. So this is a true trophy that the Aussies have won. Full credit to them.
I think they're the 3 rings that saw me not get selected in that World Cup.
Seriously, that did make me chuckle.
I know. Well, Gilly, you were wondering why we were late for the beers. It was because...
What I like about it is that they're realising on that feed is that, and it's the Fox Instagram feed, is you've just got to mention more Indians. And that's what we did. More Indians, you get more hits, more followers. So unfortunately, Gil, I think you're now in that, you're a proper has-been, that you're not even worth a mention because you're not going to get any more followers for them.
Probably right. I had my confidence dented a couple of times in the space of 24 hours. On Saturday night, obviously we're recording today on Tuesday. So last Saturday night, Coldplay, Chris Martin led Coldplay, played one of the, if not the best concert I've certainly ever been to. It is fascinating. It's an amazing couple of hours of non-stop entertainment. And at one point, as a lot of artists do, they sort of, oh, hello, Perth, lovely to see you, beautiful, and the crowd go ape. And he says, I've written a little song about WA. And it's obviously a little filler while the band get moved from one stage to another. And he's just there with his guitar and a little ballad that he'd written about WA. It's really cool, really, really funky. And he goes, oh, and of course, you got 2 AFL teams. And then there's cricket. He goes, you got Justin Langer. And the crowd go, yeah. And he goes, oh, hang on, this is getting silly. And then everyone around me and my family go, oh, he's going to say Gilly. He's going to, but of course, you've also got, and he goes, Dennis Lilly. And it's the most deflating feeling I've ever had. Even to the great DK Lilly, I was being built up and ready to go. And, talk about flat.
Like he probably was pretty close to saying,
I think you got
he probably would have said Marcus Stoinis or Stuart McGill. Maybe McGill would have got a call out.
What about Mitchy Marsh? Mitchy Marsh with his feet on the trophy. I mean,
mate.
Absolutely. All right. Hey, boys. I think that's it for the tournament. I mean, the only thing I was going to say was favourite moment, but you guys have already kind of done that. So unless there's anything else you want to wrap up, I'm pretty happy to get into the trivia.
Yeah.
Nah, it was a good few weeks. I enjoyed it. Good fun.
Yeah.
They know how to host a tournament. It's a good place to play cricket.
I tell you what,
very good.
It's whet my appetite. I reckon at some point in the future, let's put a sort of a stake in the road now. We should take the pod on the road over there somewhere on the back of your, Vaughany's tours that you were posting, mate. At some stage, there's a little seed planted. We should maybe some viewer or listener feedback to let us know if they think it'd be worth doing. But maybe we should take our pod on the road over there and see what we can conjure up.
I agree.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Now, what's that?
A bit of IPL maybe. April, May, something like that.
Yep.
Make a few videos
That's
as
a good
well.
shout.
Get out and about. See the streets of Mumbai properly.
Live show
I
or
was
two.
thinking maybe the T20 tournament between Australia and India on Friday. Did you? Too soon?
Got your visa organised, have you?
Yeah, there are. Well, a lot of people are talking it up, saying it's the series we needed.
Well, yeah, there was others saying that was just the pre-tournament warm-up on Sunday.
That's right. Hey, just if people did want to get in contact with us, remind me of that email.
Absolutely, yeah, that's clubprairiefire@gmail.com, and we have had one from Sandra Irvine is my standout one here. What's going to happen to the podcast now the World Cup has finished? I've loved every podcast, so entertaining and funny. Please find a way to carry on. Good luck with El Shito. Looking forward to seeing it in all good retail outlets. Well done, Australia. Gilly, Vaughany, Prof and Ollie. Lovely message. So
Beautiful.
stay tuned for what's coming up, I reckon.
Yes, that's right. We're going nowhere.
Thanks, Sandra.
Thanks for the feedback, though.
and also use that email and send sponsorship so we can keep going. But I think that, speaking of, great time to bring in the quiz.
Right.
This week, SmartB, as always, with the socials at Club Prairie Fire. And that's what it's exactly about, guys. The quiz, the trivia is all about this season and our socials, our guests and everything there. So it's higher and lower, but of posts. So we're going to get straight into it. And thanks to smartb.com.au for it. So, number one. What was our most liked Instagram post? Was it Gilly saying how impressive Rohit Sharma is as a captain, or Vaughany believing that Virat can't be seen as a great until he has a ton in Yorkshire? Which one was the most successful?
When we say most successful, so you're saying most views or likes? Or...
So likes, this one. So I've done different categories, different platforms. This is likes on Instagram.
Right.
I'm going to go Rohit, because generally they like to like praise more than like non-praise.
Sarcasm was every comment. So
yeah, surely that.
Okay, Rohit, 13,500, and then it was 12.4. So it was close.
Ooh.
But Rohit to say 1 point each, gentlemen. On to number two. What was higher, the number of views on Twitter of Vaughany saying controversy is key for Pakistan's success, or the number of views of Glenn Maxwell talking about his knock? Views on Twitter/X.
Oh,
I'm going to go Pakistan.
Yeah, it has to be Pakistan.
This is a sad state of affairs if that's the case, Ollie.
Pakistan had more than double our second most viewed thing.
The influence of the subcontinent teams and fans.
2.4 million views that had just on Club Prairie Fire, not including Vaughany's and Gilly's channels. Versus 1.2.
Can I just mention Pakistan? I see they've got the house in order and it's all very smooth now. They've got a new team in. My friend Mohammed Hafiz is now the director of cricket and the coach, so he's going to be down under, which is going to be great. We'll try and get him on the pod. Yeah, we'll get him on the pod, which is great. Also, the chairman of selectors is now Wahab Riaz. And I see that he's still a player in the Pakistan Super League. And what I really like about his appointment is that who is his captain in the Pakistan Super League? It's Babar Azam, the one that they've just sacked.
Oh, wow.
That is what you called chaos at its finest. And also, I've just read about Harris Rauf, who they'd like to go to Australia to obviously be the pacey, quick bowler. And I think they wanted to pick him, but he's pulled out. He doesn't want to play anymore. He says he's injured, but they've checked with the physio, and the physio says he's not injured.
And playing Big Bash, I believe, at the same time.
I tell you, they are priming themselves for this T20 World Cup next year. They are. Put your money on them.
Yeah,
that's good chaos.
Love it. Right, 2-2. Prof's going to start stretching to 2-2 there. Question number 3. Which episode had most people talking on YouTube? So that's comments. Was it Wasim Akram or Damien Martin?
Wasim Akram.
Oh, yeah, it must have been Wazzy again.
With 20 comments more, it was Damien Martin. They were nearly all about was it president? Every comment was on him. That was our most engaged.
Wow, that's Marto's going to love that feedback. He'll be happy with that.
Yeah, well, he loves it so much he's thinking of starting his own one. And 2 of the comments were from his mother. Let's remember that as well, which was quite important. So it's 2-2 still. Question number 4. What was our most viewed clip on TikTok? Was it Vaughany telling Gilly he wasn't as good as he thought after getting more test ducks? Or Ravi Shastri on the future of ODI cricket?
Ravi.
Yeah, Ravi had over 100,000 views. Gilly, you were second. It was over 50,000 views of Vaughany saying you weren't as good with your 14 test ducks.
How many did I get again?
14 was it? No, it was a good number and it got some love. So it's 3-3.
So this is effectively the decider here. Should we get this?
Yes.
And what's the overall situation? How many am I leading the overall World Cup quiz by? About 5, is it?
No. I checked that. I'm glad it's episode 12 and it's 6-5 to Vaughany. So this is obviously double, and this is
Bullshit.
I'm reviewing that, please.
Yeah, and we've got
Well done, Ollie.
English CMO. Yeah, so here it is for the
It's a big
final
one.
one. And if you draw the same, I'll get the number. But it's what is higher, the number of followers for Gilly and Vaughany on Twitter and Instagram, or the number of views we had on YouTube and Instagram during the Cricket World Cup. So your combined your combined followers, Twitter and Instagram, or our combined views, YouTube and Instagram.
I reckon we're combined about that. So 3.
I'm going to go for our views because I think you're trying to promote us, Ollie.
He knows you too well, I reckon.
Yeah, I think I'm covered here.
If you both go the same, we're going to get the number nearest to decide the winner. Gilly?
I'm going to go our followers.
There is only 13,000 in it, but Vaughany, you win. It is views 3.589 million.
A big one.
3.55 million, and that didn't include Twitter, which was 33 million in total.
Wow, there you
How
go.
have we not got 1,000 sponsors, guys? What is going on?
We don't need sponsors. We don't want sponsors.
Mate.
We're just free and easy, mate.
But
We just
on
do
that,
what we want, other than our SmartB and our PlayBook. They're unreal.
Of course.
they're fantastic. But that is the end
If
of
any
it.
tequila company wants to jump on board, feel free. But
that is the final trip of the Cricket World Cup. So
well played. Well
Well done,
played.
Ollie.
It's wonderful to see England finally legitimately win something. They don't have
There
to
you go.
burgle it.
Yeah.
All right,
We're
now,
in the
Gil,
tip-
let's do this last
Bye.
toast of the World Cup run. Here we go.
Yep. Yeah. All right. Hang on. I'm just get the bottle there. Well, is there any? You guys got any suggestions? Shouldn't just always be up to me as I pour the
I think one thing
appropriate.
we should toast is the success of this podcast, and it has exploded somewhat during this World Cup. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. I'm going to put forward the guests. I want to say cheers to all the guests who have been fantastic throughout. So thank you, Gilly and Vaughany, for hitting the DMs and getting that. They've been amazing.
Big time. They've been.
I'll eat a bit of humble pie and say it's a toast to Australia. Unfortunately, they are the best cricket team in the world. They've had an incredible year.
Yeah,
I'd love to say something different, but to win the World Test Championship, to retain the Ashes, even though they should have really won it, and to win a World Cup in the same year, full credit. They've done pretty well.
They have indeed. I'll say a toast to all that's been mentioned there, and to Prof and Ollie, you blokes, in the way you've produced this through and guided us old hacks through it, and to all our listeners and viewers out there. Thank you. So well done. Cheers.
cheers.
Well,
All right. Well, that was Club Prairie Fire for the Cricket World Cup run. I hope you enjoyed it. We will be back very shortly, either next week for the T20 tournament of the decade, or definitely we'll be starting up in a few weeks for the Aussie summer. Lots of plans for us over the Aussie summer to be doing stuff in the same studio, which will be amazing. So make sure you tell people about it. Make sure you like. Make sure you subscribe. And we'll, I guess, talk to you soon.
Adios.
Adios. Good looking net. Good looking net, pro.